All right, welcome back, everyone. This is episode 3 of MxPodtrax. We got a repeat guest here, which is really exciting. We got John Love in the house, and we're going to be doing a little bit of an Anaheim 1 recap. We don't really have too much of an agenda, but we're going to be talking about some fun stuff, so you definitely want to stick around until the end. But John, how's it going, man? How was your week?
Pretty good. Busy as always, working and doing the adult life thing. It's
Yeah,
always fun.
absolutely. My favorite. So I got to ask, vacuuming a lot, cleaning up around I see you're chilling there, at your house there, making sure that
Yeah,
you're keeping
just
everything
hanging
spotless.
hanging here in San Francisco right now.
Yeah. Yeah. How's Comet doing? Comet good?
Oh, good as
Cool.
always.
Cool.
Yep.
Jesse still banging your chick
Uh,
or
yeah. Me and between me and Joey, we always lose out on the ladies,
I wonder why. I mean, I could see with Joey, with his terrible jokes and
right?
his horrible impersonations, but I know women like a guy that keeps it clean. So I'm pretty shocked there. Oh gosh. So anything new with you?
Uh, Not much. Just trying to enjoy the new year.
Yeah,
Uh, Hopefully it goes better than last year. I guess we'll see.
we'll
Last
see.
2 years, really, but
I know. Like one of my members the other day at work said, I want you to think about the name of the year. Okay. It's 2022, as in 2020 also. And I'm like, no, don't ever say that again. We don't want to have a repeat of 2020 because
right.
what the hell? This world is just completely different now. So,
Yep.
I mean, I can't even like rub one out without having to wear a mask. So we're
And
not
it
going to
makes it
bring
hard
that
to
up.
breathe. Yeah.
It does. But you know what? That could be a little bit exciting when you get
Yeah,
close
it
to
kind of gives a
climax.
sensation like I'm being
Yeah.
choked a little bit. Yeah, that
Yeah.
part's nice.
It
Uh,
is. It is. It's it adds a whole new thrill to the
that way I
experience
can
that
just put something over my face instead of actually holding my own throat. So,
yeah, I mean then you got two hands free.
right,
You know,
exactly.
you can cup the
Yep.
ball. All right.
Cup the balls and yep.
Oh God, this is
We're on the
starting
same
off.
page.
This is starting off great. This is great. But before we go down that rabbit hole any further, let's dive into an Anaheim 1 recap. It was it was pretty darn exciting, but it didn't really go exactly as I thought it would. There was a lot of carnage out there. What did you think?
Yeah, definitely. Say neither of our kind of dark horse picks fared too well. I know you had picked Malcolm and I was high on Chase Sexton. Got off to a good start, but then kind of fell apart for him. But
Yeah, you went
yeah,
down on
definitely
quite a
some
few.
tangle ups,
Yeah.
between Malcolm and Muscan, and then Lauren and Anderson, and Bam Bam will be Bam Bam. So
Yeah. I actually put that down in the little notes here to kind of talk about because both of the riders that we did pick actually did very, very well in qualifying. They were riding very fast. I think if Sexton would have kept it on two wheels, he certainly had a shot at going after Roxon. And I
yeah,
think he would have. I think he would have battled with them. But it's just a shame because there were so many. I don't really want to call them dirty passes because it's racing, but for it being Anaheim 1, I was like, all right, they're acting like it's the 15th round, like
yeah.
we're battling for the title here. But yeah, Bam Bam will be Bam Bam, and that's it. Did you see do you see Stewart after the race when he approached
No,
Musian? Oh my gosh, he was hot. He
yeah.
was
Oh, I'd
really mad.
imagine.
And Musian was probably just like, wee, I don't understand,
Right.
just playing that card. But I like Muscan as well, but I really do think that he dove a little bit too deep on him there. That was certainly uncalled for. It did not
Right.
look like he was, trying to take that inside line. He was trying to take Malcolm's
Yeah.
line completely away.
As far as Bam Bam's, like that one, you could see coming from a mile away.
Right.
Like
I mean,
Anderson made the pass on him, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
yep.
Like you see it setting up, and it's like, yeah, he's going down. And he
I
did.
knew I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. And you know what? Like I like Barsha, but I feel like he's one of those kids, or I guess he's still kind of a kid to me. He's a kid that he'll be like, well, that's just racing. But when it happens to him, he's like, I can't believe he did that. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like
Yep.
it's his mentality is hilarious. But
I thought it was kind of funny. The last podcast we did, we put if Roxon's dead and he wins,
I called it.
we're the experts here.
Oh, clearly, clearly. Well, you know what it is now. He came back from the dead. He's immortal, so he
Hmm.
has powers.
Right.
That's
There we go.
that's how I'm gonna cover up that one. No, that was a clickbaity title. I did that because I'm like, maybe this will get more views, and I think it worked.
Yeah, I think it did work.
I think it worked, but I think it probably will work in the wrong way, because if anyone who saw that video sees another one, they're gonna be like, oh, this ass that made some
Right.
terrible. But that's all right. If it got some views and people eventually start watching us and our terrible antics, it'll pay off. But how about Roxon? He was dominant, man. I think
Yeah.
he looked good.
Yeah, I would say the heat race, I say the main, he was moving. I say I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, he looks back to form,
Yeah, for sure.
which is,
I
yeah.
say Sexton was giving him a run there to start, and
Mm,
if he could keep it on two wheels, I mean, I think he would have got by him
yeah, me
at
too.
some point. But I say he just had a couple of unforced errors, just him making mistakes. Wasn't tangled up with anyone. Just he's young, so.
Yeah, I
But
think he was getting a little bit anxious there, and I honestly, I think tonight, I think we're going to see Sexton back up front again. I really do. I think that kid is going to start putting stuff together. I know, because Matt Graff was on the podcast last week, and that's kind of his pick. And
yeah,
I don't think he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong at all. I think that kid has a bright future, and he's going to be one of those that's going to be hard to beat at some point. Speaking of hard to beat, Dean Wilson. You knew this
okay,
was coming. It's like I have it out for this kid. Finished outside the top 10 and
yeah,
almost got lapped.
yep,
Very
yeah. I
close to
noticed.
getting lapped.
Where did Cian Cerullo finish?
I want to say he finished 10th or 11th.
Yeah, because I wrote down up to a certain point. I wrote up till Malcolm got, what, he got seventh.
Yeah.
I say he wasn't anywhere in the top seven.
Yeah. Plessinger
Um,
got 9th. I want to say, who were we just talking about? Totally forgot who we were talking about. Oh,
Cian Cerullo.
Cianciarulo. Yeah, I think he got 10th. He either got 10th or 11th. So,
Oh, okay.
but he was riding with a dislocated shoulder, and I'm pretty sure he went down at some point. That's kind of his
Yeah,
MO.
I noticed towards the back of the pack a lot of guys that don't really know, and then there was some notables that didn't even make it.
I know.
I noticed that. I wrote down we got Justin Bogle, Josh Hill, Alex Martin, Kyle Chisholm, or how you pronounce that.
Yeah, Chisholm's been he's been in the sport for a long time, but
Yeah, as I say, I know he's been around a while,
he
but I was
usually ends up
surprised when I saw
qualifying.
those names not even qualifying.
Yeah, and then you had Mikorath, which I was expecting to be at least close up there, because I believe he got second in his heat, and he was 19th or something like that. He finished.
Right.
I don't know if anything happened to him mechanically, or if he fell off at some point, but that was unexpected.
Yeah.
So I think it's shaking up to be a really good season. I really do. I think it's going to be, because there's so many guys that are so close in skill that it's anyone's ball game. And I think that Eli, after getting that one kind of under his belt, I think he's going to start pushing up further and further to the front of the pack. But he had the same issue that he had last year, was a really bad start.
Right. Yep. Uh, did you watch? What'd you think of the 250s? I know there wasn't many names I knew there. Like
Yeah.
Christian Craig ran a good race.
Yeah, he looks good. I think he's going to be the guy to beat. I'm a big fan of that Shimoda kid, and
Yeah.
he got a terrible start. I mean, he got stuck in the gate, which was funny.
Oh yeah, I was gonna point that out. Is the Christian Craig, he gave him like a little pump fake in
Yep.
the at the gate. I was like, oh, that's a savvy move. I've never seen that done like that.
I know. I was like, oh, he fell for it. He took the bait. I think two guys got stuck in the gate there too. And you typically don't see that in the pro
Yeah.
ranks. It happens. I mean, it's never happened to me. It's happened to me. But yeah, I think that the 250s, Craig is probably going to dominate it. I really think he is, but there's some really good kids coming up through the ranks. Who was it who got, what was top three? Do you have it written down?
I didn't write down the whole I didn't write down the podium for the 250s.
Yeah, I did watch it.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't know if you knew who any of them were anymore. I remember like back in the day, we'd be watching and it'd be like, oh, so your brother would be like, oh, I raced him at Walnut, or
Yeah,
blah blah blah, or we hit the showers together at Byron or something. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd drop the soap on purpose with him any day.
You
Yeah,
know, like he always like knew people that were coming up. Like I remember him on 60s at this place, and
yeah,
it was like the older we get, starting to lose that a little bit.
yeah. The only person that we could still say that about is Sexton, out of
Right?
Joliet on his freaking Cobra. That kid used to rip. He
Mm,
was, he was faster than me when I was in 125B. And it was it, yeah. But no, I mean, there really aren't too many, because like you said, we're getting a little bit older. I don't really know too many of the kids, but there's a lot of talent in that field. And I'm
and it's
excited to
like,
see how,
and Christian Craig's like the old man.
yeah,
He
he
said he
said,
was 30.
I know. He said this is definitely his last year. He's going to go to the premier class next year. And I think he'll have a ride. I think someone will have a bike for him ready to
Yeah,
go because he deserves it.
right.
He does. So I heard you had some stuff to talk about today. Let's dive in. This is a surprise for me, by the way, folks. So
Oh,
I
just
have no
some
idea.
random questions. I forgot to prepare for the history lesson this time.
Darn
So
it.
I figured I would get into maybe our history instead of
Oh
riding.
boy, this should be fun.
So, what was your first bike?
My first bike was a 1983, I believe, Kawasaki KX80, and it was a piece of crap.
Nice.
What was the first bike that you rode on?
Uh, well, I had a couple when I was like younger, nothing like motocross type. I had like an XR 100 when I was smaller,
Those are
and
awesome
then
though.
my first like motocross bike was my 96 YZ 125.
This is a great year too.
So, but yeah, I was kind of late to the game as far as riding and motocross and that. My dad actually rode when he was a kid, and but he did like hair scrambles and stuff like
Yeah.
that. He didn't do like track racing and that. But I yeah, as a kid I didn't even really know about the sport till I got older. I was into go-karts and four-wheelers and stuff like that, and I just looked at it as like it was just a recreational fun thing to go play around, ripping around in the
Yeah.
cornfields and stuff like that. And then I discovered like, whoa, they like build tracks and you can race them on, and stuff like that. And then I was like, well, that's something I want to check out.
Did
You
you
know,
you discover that when you first saw the dirt bike kid, I'm assuming.
yeah, yeah, it
That's
was
when I
like yeah,
Yep. That's when I knew. When I knew, I was like, oh, but I really didn't want to race because I was like, because kind of like you, we started before my KX80. We had a mini bike that we built with the with the drunk neighbor. That was good times. Um, that was what an experience. But that thing was, it had a 5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton motor on it, no suspension. Like the chopper bars. That thing was a beast, and the throttle would get stuck wide open from time to time. Awesome.
right.
I broke my nose on that thing. And then, you know how my parents were, and they're going to hate me for this. Instead of taking me to the ER when I broke my nose, they took me to the neighbors and he broke it back with a spoon. That was fun at like 8
Oh,
years
okay.
old. Yeah, good times.
Where was the first place you raced at?
First race was Byron, and I
Okay.
got lost. So the story, the story with that is my dad and his friend Mark, who actually just recently passed away, I think a year or two ago. If you remember Megan Snow, it was like her stepdad. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so he was all about Byron, and they got super drunk the night before, typical fun times, and took us there late. We didn't get to practice, before the race or walk the track. And they're like, all right, good luck. And like, I had to line up and go out there. And I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going. I got lost. I had to ask the flagger. I'm like, where do you turn? He's like, you go that way. There, like I was an idiot. I'm like, all right. So that was my first race experience ever. And it made me never want to race again.
Right.
because my dad was all pissed because he's like, why was your lap time like 4 hours? I'm like, I didn't know where to go. We didn't get to
Right.
practice, you know?
Oh, that's crazy. We actually had a similar. I did my first race was at Byron too,
Nice.
and I didn't even make it to the to the race. I screwed my bike up before I even got that far.
Oh, well, did you get some practice in?
Well, I wrecked to the first lap of practice.
Nice. That was
They had
worth
the
all the money.
Yeah, traveled all the way up there. They had watered the track all down, so it was all
That's
muddy.
typical Byron.
And I try to remember the layout, but I went, we all started at the gate, went around, and there was like this first little small hill you climbed. And I come around the corner and just
Yep.
gassed it and just went sideways and slid up it.
Oh, nice.
And then it's just a dog pile behind me, a bike's all jamming up trying to get around me.
Is
So
that the bumpy uphill that always had
no,
like the
I hadn't got
rocks?
there yet.
Oh, you didn't get there
I
yet.
totaled
Okay.
out on that too.
Yeah,
So
I wrecked there.
I got back on the bike, and at that point I broke off my front brake lever and mangled up some of my handlebars, and I didn't have like nice handlebars on it. They weren't the stock junkers, but I had like a pair of like Alumalites or something.
Lovely. I remember
And
those.
so I got back on it and I'm riding, and then I hit the bumpy uphill, totaled out on that. And then I got like finally the flagger helped me. I got back up, got to the top, and then I didn't know where to go
That's where
because
I
I'd
was.
never been there before. As I'm like riding, I'm like, oh, I'm back down. I think I like cut the track, and I didn't even know I did it.
Yeah, because that's where you turn right and it's kind of like a little drop off, but it's
Right,
not very, you can't tell. It's like it looks like you go straight because the dirt is almost exactly the same there.
right.
That's where I was lost.
But yeah, I remember I come back to the pits, and I was like, tried, but I was like scared to death. I was like, oh, I don't know if I may cut out for this, because I'm like doing terrible. And my front lever was broke off, my bars, and I was like, well, I'll get it. They had a Tough Racing had their
Yep.
trailer there. Well, I would bear to guess. I remember looking around the lot. I think I had the only YZ there.
Oh no.
It was literally everything Kawasaki, Suzuki, all tough, a lot of bikes out there.
Yeah.
And anyone who had a Yamaha at that time, the front brake lever is not like any other brand.
Yep.
They don't use a Mikuni, or they used a brand. It was called Ekabono was their front master cylinder.
Oh
So
no.
it's not a normal brake lever. So of course I go to the trailer holding this broke off brake lever, and they're looking at it like, what is that off of? And I was like, oh, it's a 96 YZ. We don't have that. So I'm like, so I go back and we're talking. Then I ended up, I don't know, my dad was, I think he could kind of tell, like, I was like not real fond on, I was kind of like nervous and that. And he's like, you just want to go? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I mean, because once you're feeling that way, it's only going to go worse,
Yeah. It's
from
better to
there.
reset. Yeah.
I felt bad because we drove like 2.5 hours all the way out there, but that it was like, because I had literally had never ridden on like a track prior to that.
Oh God.
So then it was like, well, let's go out to Joliet, or we called it Carpies,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, do some get used to riding on a track, and then it was fine after that. But yeah, my first experience was terrible.
Man, you're lucky you didn't have PTSD from that.
Yeah.
That's pretty traumatic.
Yeah, I remember I was like, is this what this is gonna be like? Me just constantly picking the bike off the ground and getting roosted as everyone's flying by throwing mud at me. And I came off the track, looked like I'd been in like a 30-minute moto or whatever. I went around like 3/4 of the track, I think, one
You're like, I almost got a lap in.
time. So yeah, that was my first experience.
That's crazy. They're
But
similar.
uh what was I gonna ask? Oh, kind of, because I was later. And how did you? Well, you mentioned the dirt bike kid, like, and that, but like, what was it that got you to decide, like, I want to take this leap into it, like, into you know going to the track, or was it your brother first, or
It
have,
was. It was my brother first, and this is going to sound, oh gosh, it's going to sound really kind of weird. All right, so I first went out there and I was like, not sure if it was something that I actually wanted to do because I watched Scott ride there. And then I saw that girls do it. And I know this was kind of weird. I was like, wait a second. Like, there's girls that do this sport. And then I'm like, all right, I should give us, maybe I should give this a shot. Like there are girls out here that are ripping and they're good. I was really impressed. I don't know if you remember like Missy Norton. Do you remember her?
Oh yeah, I remember that name.
And then
Yeah,
they got, I'm going to say her name wrong, like Philo Petressig. I can't even pronounce
yeah.
her name. I've been saying that wrong my whole life. And of course, like Kara and Jessica were out there, Jessica Snyder. And I was like, all right, well, you
Oh
know what?
yeah.
I'll give this a
Haven't heard that
shot.
name in years.
I know. I know. She was, they were both women pros for a while too. So yeah, that was kind of like, that was kind of it. That was like, all right, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try to ride. And when I first went out there and rode, I didn't really like it because I sucked and I was scared to jump and all that stuff. And eventually one day I went out there and Charlie's dad basically said, if you don't jump this double, this next lap, I'm going to throw a rock at you. And I was just like, he actually just talked about this on Facebook the other day. I'm like, no, he's not. And I come down the front straightaway and it was that triple that they used to have in the front at Joliet right before the finish line. And I'm going into the corner and he's standing right there with a big ass rock. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to do it. So I jumped the double and I didn't die. And then I realized, I'm like, well, that wasn't that bad.
Right.
So then the double after the finish line, I'm like, maybe I'll try that one. It looks about the same. And I hit it. And like that night was just like a complete change for me. I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep pursuing this. And then Scott got pretty close with Keith when Keith Miner owned the track and gave him a key to it. So we were going out there since we were homeschooled and riding during the week. And it just got like, I got addicted. I have a very
Yeah.
addictive personality. So yeah.
Yeah, that's say I kind of got into it. Say I had a couple of friends that were into it, and then just started going out to Joliet, and it took me a little while too. Like you said, I had the same thing. Like I was rolling some of the jumps. I'm like, and then it was finally like, I got to do this, and hit, like you said, you hit the first double or whatever, and you land, it's like smooth as like, oh, well, that's not bad, and then it was go around, hit the neck. Oh, okay. And then you realize,
Yep.
you
Putting those
know,
pieces together.
I could do this to an extent, have fun with it at least.
Yeah. That's really when it becomes fun, when you actually are jumping some of the obstacles and you're like, all right.
Right.
And then kind of, I think it becomes a rush because there'll be a new jump out there and you're so damn petrified because in your stomach that lap, that this is the lap, I'm going for it.
Yep.
And like that whole lap leading up to it is just you visualizing, am I going to land this or am I going to, eat crap and,
Yep.
end up with a concussion? And then after you land it, it's like, I don't know, like Arnold from Pumping Iron. It's like coming, it's like, it's
Right.
literally like I don't know, you can't even explain it. So
Yeah, I don't know. I still can remember to this day. I don't know why, but coming out of the back at Joliet, they used to have, it was like a huge double coming out of the
yeah,
back, and I went months where I was just barely jumping over it, and then roll over the next, because I was running like C class, so most of the class was still, almost everyone was doing the same thing, but I'd see guys hitting that. I'm like, man, I want to jump that. I want to jump that. And then one Wednesday night at practice, I finally just decided I'm doing it. And I remember going around, hit the tabletop, heading into the back, working the whole time. All my mind is like, oh, here we go, here we go.
yeah,
And I was never good at judging like how much throttle to give or anything. So the corner coming up to it, I had a 250. I just left it in third
oh, you
in
overjumped
the
that thing.
corner and just held the clutch and just pinned the throttle wide open and let go of the clutch in the
Oh
corner.
no.
And I just held the throttle down, and it was just like, what happens, happens. And
You flat landed that, didn't you?
yeah, I overshot. First, the bike went off and it was standing straight up and down in the air. And then it just come down on the back wheel and bam, flat landed it. But at that point, I was like, oh, I can clear that.
Well,
Like it
yeah.
was no big deal, So then it was like, all right, I got to figure out how to back it off a little bit. But that night, like I worked at that all night. Then I got it pretty good, and I was all excited because in the class I was in, I was like, oh, this is gonna be top three because as long as I don't land on anyone,
Yeah.
because no hardly anyone's doing it. But I get to track Saturday, it's gone.
That was what Keith did all the time.
I get there, I was all excited because it was like an Arsenal round. I'm like, yeah, I got a chance of winning this if I can, get out front or because I know I can gain in that back part.
Yeah, that was a big jump.
And then I get there and he made it like these terrible like two or three like little whoops or something. I was just like, no.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, and he would be able to practice on it all week, or at
Right,
least on
yeah.
like Thursday and Friday,
Yeah.
and no one else would be able to even touch it until come Saturday
Right.
night. I think that was part of his plan. Keith, if you're watching, you know what you're doing. Good
But
times.
all right. What was my other things I was gonna ask about? Oh, favorite. I know you had to watch a lot of them back in the day. Favorite motocross movie?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Not
Gosh.
like Dirt Bike Kid or like
Right, right.
although Motocross was good. I'm talking like Terra Firmas, stuff like that.
Oh, okay, okay. I watched Chrome 4 million
Ah,
times in Steel Roots. Those two, Steel Roots mainly because there was a lot of Megadeth in it, and I
yeah.
loved it, and I was a McGrath fan. But Chrome is what we watched a lot. I think part of it was because there were a lot of women in it, and like back then.
Yeah, I don't know if I've actually seen that one.
Oh, it's
I
fantastic.
had re-chromed at
Okay,
my
it's still
house,
good. It's
and that
still
was
good.
full of women. It was
Yeah,
like all women and Tommy Clowers. That was like the whole movie.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's that's all
And
you need.
yeah, all the LBZ riders,
That's why I got LBC pants for a while when I
right?
was on a YZ80. Yep.
But yeah, so I had re-chromed Krusty 2 and 3.
Those are classics.
2 with where they jump the bike out of or not jump the bike, they roll it out of the plane and it
Yep.
crashes.
Yep.
And then Krusty 3 with had like the paper boy at the beginning, then it plays Fuel
Yeah,
to start that was a good movie.
it
And then
was.
Terra Firma ones, but they were more like serious. Like I got it like watching it was more about the racing and the
Right.
right wasn't the party and all that.
Yeah, those were some good films, so they really got you pumped up. We watched them a lot more during the winter time than we did during the
Yeah.
summer. It was kind of like getting that itch. And then one day we were watching it, and my parents were at work, and it was snow all over the place. So we went in the backyard with our bikes, and we started like making this track with our bikes
Okay.
uh, through the backyard. And we literally tore that place up to mud. It was all over. And my parents came home and they're like, "What the hell did you do?" We're like, "We got some practice in." It
Right.
destroyed the yard. It was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so I never tore up my yard. I got to go. Well, you were actually at my house with a bike
Yeah.
years ago, and you got
Yep.
to go out to the dunes where I practiced. That
It was a
was
long time
my
ago. Yeah.
yeah, that was where I'd skip school and you know hang out there by myself.
Yeah.
But
They had that nice long sand whip section. That was cool.
mm-hmm, yep. But but yeah, that's trying to think. Yeah, I can't really think any other. But yeah, I'm kind of the same way. The winter time would be more for watching the movies or that. But yeah, it would get you pumped for riding. I will say this: I'm kind of fortunate that you know technology it isn't where it was at then because I just know myself as much as I would love to have had it on tape. I would have done some stupid stuff on a motorcycle if I knew it would live forever.
Oh yeah.
The
Oh, for
fact that
sure.
like I was like, I'm not jumping that, like I, break my neck guy, whatever. And only two people here is gonna see it. But if I had someone sitting there filming me and I thought like something I could talk about forever, oh yeah, I would
Yeah,
have done a
that's a good
lot
point.
more, you know. So probably to my detriment, probably would have been, you
Yeah,
know,
but you'd be a legend, man.
right, at least in my own mind, you know.
Right. No, that I totally agree. I think, if they had helmet cams and stuff back then, I would have been in trouble for sure.
Yeah, we didn't have helmet cams. Let's say I thought I was cool because I had a Troy Lee Designs fin on my helmet, so
Oh, I remember
with
those.
a
Those were the
with a
best.
blinking light.
Hell yeah. You weren't cool
Had to
unless
have
you had one of
those.
those.
What was your main go-to for like gear did you wear?
Typically Thor. Thor was
Thor,
my
okay.
go-to. Yeah, and even like at the end, like I would go Thor helmet. Like everything was Thor. For a while, it was Bell helmets, and that was expensive.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I was just like, what's the point? Especially when it got to the point where I had to start paying for stuff. I'm like, all right, let's figure out how I
yeah,
can get a deal.
yeah. I was bad about the helmet thing. I mean, I obviously wore a helmet, but I wasn't big. I didn't. I wasn't big on buying a Bell or an Array,
Yeah, no,
or
no open, no
anything.
open face helmets out there.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
but I was buying like, oh, what are they called, like
Yeah,
HJCs or
they still make those. They're
whatever.
quality.
I was just buy something like that. I wasn't spending a fortune on a helmet. But gear wise, Fox, whatever, like most people, and then I got big into Shift
Shift was good.
when
Yeah,
that stuff started taking off. I really gravitated to that when all the ads with Emig and
yeah,
Enslow and all that stuff. I always thought that was a cool brand.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I had my goat goggles.
Yeah, goat. I had a goat, a couple
Yeah,
pairs of goat.
yeah.
Was the way to go. That was the way to go
And Alpine Star boots.
for sure.
But I always had like the cheaper ones. So I had like Tech Fives, or
Yeah,
when everyone else had like the Tech Sevens and Eights.
I had
They
the
still
H
said Alpine
ones.
Stars on them, but they weren't the high end.
That's all right. They're boots, man. Like I have, what do I even have right? I have a pair of Answer. They're pretty budget boots, but man, they're solid. Like
Right.
I think you really can't go wrong with any of the gear now. I have an MSR helmet that cost me $85. It's solid. I got an O'Neill one I bought secondhand for $50, but that's like a 200 and some dollar helmet. It's pretty nice.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's fun though to buy gear. I've got to
Oh yeah.
cool
I
it.
used to I used to buy the jerseys. They just walked around wearing them.
Yep. Just
Back when.
so everyone knows.
Well, yeah, back then, I remember, like, at least in my high school, we had like our little clique that was like we were the only ones at school wearing Fox shirts and all that, because that was before it became so mainstream. And then it
Yeah.
was, if you saw someone, they put a Fox sticker on their window, you'd be like, "Oh, what do you ride?" And they're like, look at you and be like, "Oh, you poser."
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like Backstreet Boys, they were wearing the chest protectors and
Right.
the rappers with the quads and
Well,
stuff.
I
At least,
remember I remember the downfall was when you started seeing the stuff at like Hot Topic,
oh yeah, that
and go into Spencer's. You'd walk in, they'd have Fox shirts. I'm like, uh-oh. I was
yeah, that
like, this
used
is
to annoy
blowing
me.
up bigger than, it was kind of, you had your kind of your knit little brand of clothes stuff that it represented you, but you knew if you saw someone else in public wearing that, you more than likely they rode,
Right.
whereas then it was like, oh, I can't tell now. This guy just might be a douche. Yeah.
You could spot a douche a mile away,
Right.
Like, oh, this dude doesn't ride. Hey, we got some listener questions, which is
Oh
pretty cool.
yes, yes.
I
I'm
asked,
excited for
yeah, I
this.
was like, hey, I want some listener questions. And, everyone's probably like, my wife was like, where'd you get those from, your mom? And I'm like, well, I hope not. Because some of them, if this is my mom asking this, it's going to be, there's some good ones. I took a couple out just because they're a little bit too, I don't know, they weren't PG enough. So,
We'll
and
save that for the OnlyFans.
yeah, that'll be on the OnlyFans link in the description below. You can go to www.billywithbearsnakedontricycles.com.
Nice.
It's good. But if anyone does have any listener questions you want answered, you could actually put them down in the comments below, or you could just DM me on Facebook, reach out to myself or John, because John will be a recurring guest. I think we do pretty well with this. It's fun, but we're going to go ahead and get to them. The first one is pretty simple, and you asked me something similar. It's, what was the best bike you ever owned?
That's a toss up. My 99 YZ250 I had was, I don't know if it was the best. I mean, gave me no problems. We're always, always ran good. Um, just solid bike, it was dependable.
Yeah.
Probably my best running one was, I had a 95 CR250. I bought it used, which I wasn't never bought used dirt bikes. You never know what you're getting sometimes,
Oh yeah.
And bought it at a dealership in Indiana. Me and my dad were out visiting a friend, and we just saw this tent outside of this dealership with a bunch of bikes. And you know, I knew how to talk my dad into, so I could be like, "Oh, hey, why don't we just stop there and look?" And once I get them there, then I know I can. Oh, I really
Yep.
like,
Rope them in.
And they had this CR250 there. And it was all decked out, had all the goodies on it already, and that bike just ripped. I don't know what all was done to it. The guy, that the salesman said that it was owned by some guy that had raced out there or something, but it wasn't all clapped out or nothing. It was in good shape. And but I remember we checked the compression on it, and a stock CR250 at that time, I think, was around, like, supposed to be around like 180, something like 170, 180 pounds, and it tested like 250.
Whoa.
And I knew it was because when we first got it, I tried running it on just 93 octane, and it ran terrible. So I had to start buying race gas for it. But once I did that, then I was like, oh man, this thing is fast. Once I got it running right. And but yeah, whoever had that did a lot of work to the engine and stuff on it. And that bike was quick. That one I would probably say overall was just my best. Those were awesome years for CRs. Your
Yeah.
93 through like 96.
Yeah, they
You
kept
know,
them pretty similar, other than like the looks for those years,
right.
because they had a winning bike. And then was it then they started going over to like aluminum frame, right?
Yeah,
What was that?
97 CR, the 250 went aluminum, and then
Okay.
the 98, the 125 did
Yeah,
had
that's
the
right.
had the tuning fork, wishbone, that
Yep.
terrible first aluminum frame they had.
Yeah, you always gotta avoid the first year. Let them work the kinks
Well,
out.
they just sat on it, the whole bike vibrated.
Yep.
Felt like you were just terrible.
Yeah, the only
Look
thing that
cool though.
and the only thing that was good for is when the girlfriend isn't around, to just put it in neutral and rev the engine.
Right, there you go.
Works. Or when you're not around, she'll be using the bike.
Right, I
Be
was
like,
gonna say she
"Babe, why
might
is my
use it.
gas out of fuel?" Don't worry about it.
Right.
Why are you always gonna give me a hard time?
So how about you?
My answer is really simple: 99 KX 125. It
Okay.
was my first 125. I ended up doing a couple things to it. We had it port and polished eventually. Pro circuit, shorty silencer, exhaust. It sounded pretty mean, and it was just overall a good bike. It didn't give me much trouble. My 2000, however, I blew that thing up so much. It's like the top end would always go. I'm like, what the
Right.
hell? Either it was the bike, or it was, maybe the mechanic, dad. What are you doing? So, yeah, but short and simple. That was my favorite bike. Very
Oh,
easy.
okay.
Very easy. So this one's good. It's a would you rather. I love would you rathers. Oh my gosh, right? So would you rather ride through a whoop section sitting down on the gas tank so your balls get smashed with each whoop, or have a dropper of VP fuel poured in your eye?
Oh, definitely the balls.
Really?
Oh yeah. I like the punishment.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, like, when I saw this, I'm like, God, I really don't know, but I mean, like, the balls, my balls are done anyway, folks. I have no shame in saying that my balls don't function. I know. Oh, why my ball? I'm on testosterone replacement. My balls have been shut down for a while, but I could still, after they heal, I could still get off. But if I can't see, I don't know. I'm a pretty visual guy. Like I need the lights on during sex sort of guy. So,
Oh, okay.
like even like beating off, I need to be able to look at myself naked in the mirror. It's just, is that normal? And so, yeah, I would go with the balls on the gas tank 10 times out of 10 for
Yep.
sure.
Was
That
that one? Did your mom send that one in or no?
I was
Oh,
thinking
okay.
that was mom.
Okay.
Mom, thanks for the question. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. All right, so this one's simple. Cowie or Honda?
Oh, if you ask me right now, I'd say Cowie.
Okay.
Yeah. Back in the day, I just said Honda,
Yeah.
but
You know, I'm having a tough time with this because if it's the 450 this year, I really do like the Honda.
yeah,
I really like the Honda. Like I've always been a Cowie guy. I've owned one Honda in my life. I had a 2002 CR 125 for a while. It was a pretty nice bike, but I think I'm going Honda on this one. I don't know. I'm torn.
huh. Yeah, I don't know much about the new Hondas that just people I talked to sound like they had gone downhill over the years as far as quality. Honda used to be like just known for quality, back in the day, and it sounded like they had kind of lost some of that. That's why I always I gravitate to Yamaha
Yeah.
just for the dependability. And people goof on, they'll be like, "Oh, you got your Yama dog, like it's slow," and I'm like, "Well, yeah, mine ain't gonna lock up,
True.
going down the
True.
straight."
Yeah. Yeah. Yamaha's always been pretty darn dependable. So I agree with you there. And this year, like the 2022 Yamahas, they look awesome.
Yeah,
They look tough to beat. But I honestly, I don't think you could really go wrong with any of the brands right now. You know,
yeah,
uh,
Suzuki I could do
that's
without, but
the one that's been at the lowest of the list, but they're the most affordable. And it's funny because when I was looking for a bike, I almost went with a brand new 2022 RMZ 450. I was thinking about it because I'm like, it's really not too much until I got the whole out the door price, and I'm like, okay, maybe not.
right,
Like, can I afford it? Yes, but not right now.
right.
Well, that answers that. Cowie or Honda, folks. Basically, either one. Whatever. You like red? Do you like green? Are you colorblind? Just ask someone else. Just be like, which color do I like the most? What's the most painful injury you've ever had? I'm assuming that they're referring to motocross and not like,
Right.
if it was that, it would be that one time that I tried to get off by tangling my balls in a meat grinder. That I don't think that applies here.
Uh, I've been fortunate enough I didn't really have much for broken bones. A broken bone in my foot one time,
Still painful.
going around a sweeper in the back at Joliet, and it was all muddy, and I was like going to practice laps, and I was getting pretty good at it. I started like flat landing it, like sliding it, looked like I was racing like an oval track, and I got my foot pinned under it and dumped it over.
Oh,
But and way it landed, my foot was all swelled up, and yeah, I broke a bone in my foot. But my worst injury is one that anyone listening to this that knows me is one where I burnt my ass
I told my wife about this one. That's the best.
at Hoopston. Yep, was going uh go over the finish line, jump, and I was going around this first double, and I don't know what I did, but went off at Goofy and went into the fence. And when I hit the fence, I went over the bars, and the bike went over and like it drove me into the ground. So I was out, must have been out of it for a few seconds because I don't really visually remember it much, but the bike like drove me into the ground, was laying on top of me, and the adrenaline's going. I'm just under there trying to get out from under it, and the guy that's supposed to be flagging, he's off to the side making out with his girlfriend,
uh,
and I'm just laying there. And it was actually Pat O'Reilly, rest in peace, was helping flag out there. He
oh,
come running
was
out.
he the one who was making out with a side chick?
No, he was just.
Pat
I
was
remember he
awesome.
was out there. He come running onto the track, and he's yelling at the flagger like, "What are you doing?" And they got the bike off of me, and this and that, and I walked over to the ambulance, and because that was literally like 2 weeks after the thing with my foot. Like I raced out at Joliet and I went to Hoopston wearing a moon boot.
Dude, you were
And
Hardcore,
then
man.
I don't know, I just wanted to, I just take the moon boot off, and the swelling was down enough I could get my riding boot on.
Probably wasn't
And
coming off after that, but that's all right.
no,
You don't need to take it off.
but I remember I went in the ambulance and my other foot was hurting, and I remember my dad was out there and he's like, "Oh, hopefully, and I was like, "No, it's this foot." And the nurse is like, "What's wrong with this?" I was like, "Oh, I broke a bone in that a couple weeks ago." And she's like, "Oh my, what are you doing?" So I get out of the ambulance and still the adrenaline's just going. I feel fine. And I reached the back of my pants and I'm like, what is going on? And I just felt like I melted the pants. And I'm like, oh, I ruined my riding pants, and I'm feeling back there and it's like, it's weird. And then we left the track, went home. It wasn't until I got home, I was still in the riding pants. And that was probably a mistake because the pipe had melted my pants, but inside of riding pants, there's the mesh,
Yeah, so
like
that was
swimming
melted into your
trunks.
skin, wasn't it?
So that melted into my skin like
Yep.
if gauze
Oh
melt was
God.
in like a burn, like it started to scab over. So it was stuck.
You know what you should have done? You should have just burnt the rest of the pants into your body. Then you never
Oh,
have to
there
buy
we
riding
go.
pants again.
But yeah, I remember that night at home, I'm sitting there bent over, my mom trying to, she's having to pull that off of my ass cheek, and
That's
the
not
pain,
awkward.
that hurt for a while. That my scar's basically gone now. It took like 20 years, but
Yeah, you
for a
you got
while
burned
back
pretty good then.
for a while back in the day, that used to be if we were at parties, somebody'd always be like, "Hey, show them your ass," and I had to show them this
Yes.
and then we always, because it was actually, how on a 250 the exhaust comes out and it goes left, and you got
Yeah.
that little hook. That's what got me. It wasn't the like large end of the pipe, but we used to tell everyone that, oh yeah, you could actually see pro circuit melted into the skin.
Oh, it's like you got a free tattoo out of it on your
Right.
ass.
I always got to spice up the story a little bit.
Of
But
course. Of course.
but yeah, that I would say that was my most painful. Yeah, I never broke arms, leg, collarbones, nothing. I was pretty fortunate as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah, mine's not quite so awesome as your story. Worst thing I did was out at Joliet. I broke my ribs going through a whoop section. My foot came off the peg, and basically it caused my other foot to come off the peg. And then I was riding through the whoops on the handlebars with my ribs for like 2 or 3 whoops, and that handlebar just came up and cracked the rib. So
Yeah,
that was terrible because trying to sleep for the next 4 or 5 weeks was just absolutely awful. And I remember I'm like, I'm not going to race my next race. My dad was mad. He's like, you're going to get back out there. And
right,
like, he normally wasn't like that, but for whatever reason, maybe the crash didn't look horrendous enough for him, because it doesn't take much to break a rib. I'm like, I can't even breathe. Like,
right,
I'm not going out there. So yeah, that put me off the bike for a while, and it was painful. It was definitely painful, but I don't have any battle scars like pro circuit on my ass to
right.
show for it. All right, so we got one more, or no, we got two more. My bad. Who was your motocross slash supercross crush?
Right.
I'm like, I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, is it like, like I was thinking Miss Arena Cross, Miss Supercross, something like that. I don't
Right,
know, because I don't really know where this question is going.
right,
Or is it like my mom was my crush because she was my biggest? I don't know.
right. It was crush. I'll go with like favorite rider.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, say back in the day, like, you know, I couldn't stand McGrath back in the day just because he always won. I never
Yeah.
liked the ones that always win. You know, he was the most popular or whatever. Um, I was well, it was since I had my 96 YZ, there was, do you remember the Fox movie Fly?
Oh yeah.
Okay. There's a part in that where they're riding the Yamahas out in the desert, and it's Bradshaw, Doug Henry, and Kevin Windham, and they're all riding stock 96 YZs. Like, so I'm like, my bike is like on the screen, like I'm watching these guys jump these big jumps with it, and I'm like, I got one of those in my garage right now. like I thought that was the coolest
Yeah.
thing ever.
Yeah.
And that was when I started really getting into Doug Henry, and before I knew all his story, with Bud's Creek and his back injury and all that.
Yeah. He was a beast.
And then that was in '95, and then I don't know all the details of it. I always thought it was weird that he had that accident, and then like Honda just kind of like bailed on him. He had been winning championships with Honda, and McGrath and Lamson were kind of the new flavor there, but it was like, man, he gave a lot for you guys, and he gets hurt real bad, and then he don't have a ride.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
Yamaha took him in, and I was like, well, that was cool of Yamaha to give him another shot, and then let him help with the surgeons of the 4-stroke and went from there. So yeah, Doug Henry was kind of my one I looked at, thought it was cool. And then my first bikes, I always had number 38 on them because I was a
Right.
Wyndham
Yep.
fan. So
Same. Yeah. I don't even know how to answer this question. So, I mean, if we're going with like rider, I probably would say Wyndham, because he's just like, he was involved in the sport for so long. He's an icon. He was seemed like a really good guy. And I did like his style. I
right,
like how he rode. So I guess I'm gonna go with K, or what was his name? K-Dub? Did they call him
yeah.
K-Dub? Okay. Like, am I just making that
So
up?
so no motocross crush.
No, like I will say though, like there's something very, very attractive about a girl that does something badass that's good at it, like a girl rider, or like a girl guitarist,
Right.
or like even like a girl video gamer. I don't know why. There's something about it. Maybe it's because I'm like secretly want to have sex with myself. I
Right.
don't know,
Yeah, there's someone I watched TikTok. There's a couple of girl guitarists, or you ever see that Maytal, the
No,
girl drummer?
no.
Oh, you check her out. It's like Meytal.
Yeah,
I
it's
forgot. She
good.
has like a band, but she like metal, plays drums and that, and
Oh, that's
she's
so hot.
not hard on the eyes either. Motocross crush for me, I'm gonna go with Frenchman because probably the best kissers.
Oh, for sure.
So probably like Mikel Pichon.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
thinking that. I was thinking he could probably give a really good rusty trombone.
Okay.
Probably be really good at that. Like, I don't know. I just like, or a Roman soldier helmet, he'd play that part really well. I don't know.
Or and then I was kind of leaning. I was thinking back in the day with uh Ezra Lusk and Damon Huffman were Yogi and Boo Boo. And with the bear, I can if I
have,
was into that, I would consider myself a bear.
a, have, a,
So
have a threesome.
yeah,
Do like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and
yeah, we'd
Goldilocks just watches.
all three of us get in the tent and see what pops up. You know.
Dude, I just almost shot a snot rocket with that one. That was good.
So
Uh, yeah,
that's
I
my
can see that.
choice.
I can see that. All right. Well, with that said, we got one more. This one is,
Nice.
we're going to shift gears. This is a very serious question. Okay.
Oh boy.
Have you ever shit yourself while riding? That's
No.
what it says. No.
Uh,
I mean, if I have,
yeah,
I
I
don't know
can't.
about it.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, never like. I suppose maybe a little dab,
little bit of like skin mark,
little
like a little,
little little print, like a stamp,
right, like like
but not like a.
just
It
like a
didn't like
little
it.
kiss.
It didn't look like I sat in like a French silk pie or
Okay,
nothing. Like,
a little bit of a butthole pucker and a little kiss
yeah,
there.
maybe something like that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose times, but I mean, I'm a working blue collar job. There's times you come home from work like that. There's
right.
times where you get so busy, we're like, I ain't got time to stop, and you're like holding your stomach, like, oh.
Yeah, you
But
just let a
but
little
yeah, I
bit out.
never like was like, oh
Shake
my,
the pant
just like
leg.
loaded my pants. Yeah, I
No,
can't say I ever did that.
no, me neither. Luckily, but hey, there's still time. I'm back
Right.
on a bike.
Yeah, I would say you're back on a bike, getting a little older, you never know.
I know.
Might hit you sometime.
I do have digestive issues from time to time, so
Yeah.
it's certainly something that is not out of the question. And maybe, in a couple weeks time here when spring comes, I'll have a whole new podcast on fielding questions for what to do when you feel like you're going to crap and you're riding.
Right.
Maybe I'll come
There you
up with
go.
like a product, like, I don't know, like like depends for motocross riders. Who
There
knows?
you go. Yeah.
Figure it out. Figure it out. Well, that is all for today, folks. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. So make sure that you do your thing and maybe comment below. Let us know some questions that you want
Yes.
to be
More
answered.
questions.
Yes, more questions, Mom.
Any
Keep them
topic.
coming.
Any topic. Well,
Any topic whatsoever. I mean, if you want to know my cup size, I'd be more than happy to answer that. And I'm not going to give it away now. So you got to be tuned next week. But John, thanks again for being on the podcast. And
no
we'll probably
problem.
have more coming out in the future.
All right. Look
All right,
forward to it.
folks, enjoy your day and subscribe.
See ya.